Hi, this is Thomas with Believe in the Run.
This is Robbe with Believe in the Run.
And Robbe, we are talking about one of those shoes that comes up every year.
It's as old as Father Time, which is my nickname.
Because it is basically a year younger than you at 40 years.
Man, you're really giving it away. I guess I was seeing if people could do the...
Oh, the math?
Yeah. It's not even math, it's just reading a number.
Nobody wants to do math. Anyway, we're talking about the Pegasus, or I guess, Air...
Get all the letters right, all the words right.
You give it to me.
No one's gonna know what you're talking about if you say...
Don't say the Air Zoom.
Air Zoom Pegasus.
40.
So Pegasus 40, or I should say Nike Pegasus, that's one of those legendary shoes. Can you think of any shoes that have been longer running than the Pegasus as of right now?
I mean, Asics has a few that have been rolling along in their Legends collection, but
they're like 13 years, like the Kayano's on like 27s, they're like 13 years short.
Yeah, and wouldn't you think for their 40th birthday they would get like a total makeover? So this shoe might remind you, talking about not getting a makeover, might remind you of what?
This shoe.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, yeah. It's midsole, the tooling, the outsole, everything is identical from the foam down.
Yeah, and you know, like a kid going abroad, this was a gap year, I guess, for the Pegasus. We kind of knew it was going to be maybe an upper change, but we were hoping for that anniversary that maybe they did switch it up.
I was also hoping though, like Nike had their 50th anniversary last year.
Yeah.
You didn't hear boo about it.
I don't even think they made custom waffles for that. Like, just like, I thought they have
something
out,
like
sending waffle machines, branding.
Yeah, I was excited about all sorts of stuff, and then wah, wah.
So let's talk about it anyways and see what's changed, maybe how our feelings have updated or haven't, and let's get into it.
I have to say, Robbe, this is probably one of those shoes that between not having a full update, and I know that every other year they pretty much leave the midsole alone and then just do a upper update.
Right. The colorway alone was what I'm saying. When you first get a shoe, you look at the color, you're like, I mean, sometimes it gets you stoked to wear it.
This one wasn't that. And normally like Nike's trail collection, I think that they spoil us with amazing colorways.
I mean, we all know that the models that come out in like 6 months are the best colorways. I was still excited to try the shoe because I've always liked the Pegasus. I mean, even through the changes over the last 7 or 8 years that I've been wearing it a lot, like, I think that it's still been a pretty solid shoe all around.
I said at the beginning before we got into this one that it was one of those shoes that I kind of set the bar for, hey, this is a simple daily trainer. This is what you should be getting out of a daily trainer. And I don't know if we're just getting better shoes now, but I did feel a little flat in this one. So let's get into the upper and what the changes are, because that's really where the update is on this shoe.
The last version had this Flywire going on here. What are your thoughts on Flywire?
I like Flywire. It saves weight. It can adjust. Some people don't like it because if it's used incorrectly, you can kind of feel it cutting into your side of your foot.
Yeah, I had no issues with it. I really like the fit of last year's upper again. I like the lockdown that you can get with the Flywire. The 39 had some comfort here in the tongue. Very breathable though on the sides and in the toe box.
Yeah, that did feel, it felt like a more airy upper.
Thomas, what's changed in the newest version?
Well, they have something now that they're calling that arch lock that comes in. What it really is one giant U-shaped piece of material that goes from one side here to the laces, folds inside, goes around and comes back up this side and folds down. Does it work? It does work to keep your arch locked in. Is it better than Flywire? I don't think so.
Like you said, it accomplishes a couple things. It kind of gives you that midfoot wrap, and that's one of the things that they kind of touted for this shoe is more of a midfoot wrap / arch support. They say this upper is more breathable, and while it's still cold here in Maryland, so it's like we can't notice really either way, I honestly don't see how it could be more comfortable or more breathable than the 39.
It's an okay upper. I don't know that there's an upgrade over the previous one, and I just think that when you pair in that the shoe actually got heavier.
Yeah, which we haven't even talked about yet, so I guess we're talking about that now.
Yeah, let's get into it. I mean, the upper's great. The one thing that I'll give it knocks for, aesthetically, I like the crisscross laces. The way that this one sets up, you get those straight over laces, which will remind you of the Vomero that we reviewed. So going down the midsole, any surprises, Robbie?
No, I mean, this is it's exact same midsole as last year. You have the React foam, you have the Air Zoom unit in the heel. Zoom Air Zoom, I always forget. Zoom Air unit.
Zoom. It's written right here on the side.
I know, but I think they it's like the reverse.
We're gonna school you on something right now because it's hard and it even confused us here. We got all befuddled. Robbie, is it Air Zoom or Zoom Air?
So it's both, which is quite confusing, and I had to double check. So it's Air Zoom is like the Air Zoom Pegasus, but Zoom Air are the units inside of the shoe for some reason. No one knows who makes these decisions. Zoom Air unit in the heel and in the forefoot. Now, it's the same as last year, like we said. The React midsole, 32 millimeters in the heel, 22 millimeters in the forefoot, 10 millimeter drop.
There you go. It doesn't have a very responsive feel out of the React foam. It's nice enough and it's cushioned enough for how low of stack it is. The airbag helps give you that proprioception where you land and you feel it under the ball of your foot and get a little bounce out of it. But it's not enough to really feel like, boom, energetic. I put it through runs outside and I also did some runs on the treadmill. So I got it pretty much covered. I even wore it around for casual wear to just kind of get the feel of how I think this shoe would be used. It's not bad. It's not a revelation.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, if it was in my class in school, I'd give it a good C+.
Yeah, pretty much accurate. But we didn't talk about the weight, right?
Yeah, that's where it's gonna flunk.
I thought that it would be at least comparable to last year's version, because last year's is like, it's not light, it's not heavy, it's just kind of in that daily trainer range. And then this year's version, how much did this weigh, Thomas?
So for my size, 10.5, it weighed almost 11 ounces or 308 grams, which is substantially more than last year's, which weighed around 10 ounces or 283 grams.
And to me, I felt like it did feel heavier. It's loud as hell on the run.
That was the weird thing about, I don't remember this version being loud.
Same.
This one is audible. I'll tell you who I think this is a perfect shoe for. Beginner runner, entry runner, who likes Nike, who wants to wear Nike, perfect shoe for you. It's also a good shoe for somebody who isn't, say, dialed into running. Maybe you're more of a cross-training person. You go to the gym, you want to be able to run 3 to 6 miles at a shot when you're getting your cardio in. It did feel surprisingly nice on the treadmill, so I really did like it on the treadmill. On the roads, it did feel a little more harsh, but yeah, that's the person I'm aiming this shoe towards.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe it's this whole thing with all these shoes now coming out that have so much crazy super foams and technology. They're lighter, they're faster, and I don't know, this is somewhat of the old guard. It's kind of like the traditional daily trainer, which is fine, and it is, you know, at the more lower end of price point for shoes, although it did pick up $10 this year, so it is $130. Now, I mean, at that point, you're kind of getting up to that, like, 10 bucks more is the Nova Blast, or like, you know, 20 bucks more is the Mach 5 or Clifton.
I mean, I'll tell you that I think the Propel V4 at 110 might be a shoe you'd want to look at.
It yet. I don't know, there's something about that, and we try not to cover price that much because we think, you know, if there's a justification. And
well, pricing, I mean, if we're gonna get into pricing is weird because here's what it is. We're comparing pricing because this went up $10. But I'd also say it feels very similar to a shoe that's almost $200, which is the Tracksmith. Yes, the what is it? I forget that.
The Elliott Runner.
Tracksmith is a premium brand. I expect to pay more for their clothing. I expect to pay more for their shoes. When we think of price, it's kind of like if you think about a Honda Civic, what you'd pay for a Honda Civic versus what you pay for maybe a BMW or Mercedes. On pure volume, Nike's gonna make so many Pegasus 40s that probably the price per unit is much less than you would think.
But so for $130, I think it's fine. Like, that's just what a daily trainer costs these days. This is gonna get you a lot of miles for sure. Like, the Pegasus always can go to like 400 miles or
the React foam really holds up well.
Yeah, so that's not an issue at all. I'm neither excited nor not excited about the shoe. It's fine, it's a daily trainer, and I don't think it's bad by any means. I don't know, it's not gonna blow my mind.
I think what Robbie's trying to say is there's other shoes we'd pick above it, but if you like Nike and you want a basic daily trainer, this is it.
And this is one of those shoes where I think works for a lot of people. Like if you're recommending someone a shoe for the first time running, you can almost always tell them the Pegasus and they're gonna be fine with it. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else we need to cover about this shoe. I'm more excited to see what can happen with the 41 next year. Like I said, in between years, so hoping that maybe we get some Zoom X or something weird in there.
Hey, I'm really excited about the new Vomero coming out, so.
Yeah, I mean, that seems promising as well, but we'll see, we'll see.
From your description, I'm gonna guess that you're going with me on yellow.
Yeah, I'm going solid yellow here.
Yeah, we got a good essay last year, and the student turned around, changed some of the words.
Use the little chat GPT.
And it's not quite as good, but it's good enough. And matter of fact, I'd recommend if you love the Pegasus, go ahead, stock up on the 39. They got some great colors out.
We don't have a release date on this, so we've heard April. So it actually is probably coming in a couple weeks because they did a shoe. We did a shoe demo last week with the Peg 40. With the Believe Run Club, by the way, Thursday night, 6:30 p.m. 6:30 or 6?
6:30, all paces welcome.
Yep, come out to Believe HQ at 1805 Eastern Avenue, right here. And
Saturday, Thursday.
And follow us on Instagram. Make sure you check out our podcast, The Drop Podcast, Fuel for the Soul Podcast. Anything else?
I mean, I think our weekly email is probably the best place to follow us because you get everything and you get an emo letter from Robbie usually.
Yeah, a love letter. So sign up for the email list as well. And I think that's everything. Let's get out of here.
Wrap.
I do like the pull tab on the tongue though. I like that.
I do like that, and I like
nice.
the little graphic.
Yeah.
The winky Nike guy.
Looks like he's got a little too much tequila in him.
Yeah.
Had a good night.
All right.
You know.